Hey folks, Jeff here at Back to Country. Thanks for dropping by the channel today. Well, as you can see from the background, I ain't in the city no more. I made it back to the property. And other than, fall continuing to drop the leaves on the trees and make things look different, things are pretty good. Everything seemed to hold up well. We got animal tracks on the property where there's been some deer and coyotes, etc., running around, but other than that, nobody's been here, and that's the way we like it. And things are pretty much just the way we left them. So here's the pad where we're gonna build the shop. Hope to talk to some concrete folks today if things go right. I still haven't done anything with that telehandler, so hopefully I'll start that up today and at least run it through the numbers, make sure it's all good, and then park it somewhere else for a bit, because I don't really have any work to do with it. The only thing I do notice, you see that outrigger right there, is falling a little bit, which basically means when it's parked and not under pressure, that the cylinder, either the cylinder leaks a little bit internally, or the hydraulic, probably the valve body or something like that, has a pressure leak and basically allows the hydraulic oil to backflow. It's not really a big deal, because as soon as you start it back up, you pull it up and it's good to go, but just kind of an indication that sooner or later that probably gonna need some work somewhere, but that's typical of older equipment. You can see things look pretty. Still a lot of trees with green on them. Of course, a lot of them are evergreens, the pines and so forth. Pines and cedars primarily, but the Yalpon holly stays green year round. And then we've got those horrible greenbrier vines that climb on everything, and those stay green. And there might be a few other trees, but mostly everything's dropping its leaves. We did have one area here on the shoulder of the road. You can see water flow came down the hill here and washed out this side of the road here. We had plenty of room to get up the road, which is why I always like to make them wider, but definitely had some water flow through here that washed all this out. You can even see the dirt line down there where it washed down. So we'll make sure and move a little bit of dirt and fill this back in, build it out a little bit more. And down here is a couple of small runoff washes, a little bit of erosion there and a little bit of erosion here. And just down the whole road, actually, you can see little washes where the dirt ran out a bit and eroded. Maybe we'll cover that with rock eventually or something, make it, this rock will make riprap as well and be just like protecting a dam on a pond or whatever. So no big deal, easy fixes. It's typically the way we do this stuff. We build it and then see what happens, and then we figure out how to fix it. Over on this side here, here's a decent wash, another one above it, but again, nothing too serious, nothing that challenges the integrity of the road or anything like that. Only that one was of good size, I guess you'd say, that definitely needs to be fixed. The other ones are pretty minor. And eventually I'm going to put more dirt in here and fill in this whole area along the side and widen this road out even more. But not a project for this trip. That'll be just something I do in the future. For this trip, let's see, what do I got planned? Whole bunch of little stuff. So a little bit of mechanic work and things like that, and check the bees and stuff like that. And the main thing here I need to check grade on this pad. I've never checked grade. It's all just we filled it in with dirt and eyeballed it, so I have no idea what the grade is on it, where the slope is set. I believe I made the outside high, and the intent was to kind of minimize the erosion and control the water flow a little bit. But obviously once we build a shop on here, I don't want the water pooling up in the middle. Of course, we've got a decent amount of rain, and although there are a few puddle areas, you see it kind of looks damp through here, but it really doesn't puddle up much on here, so it's pretty good. But I would like to check the grade and then start to level it off. And once we get the building marked out and everything, and then we'll begin to slope the pad away from the building. But it does look like it gets higher on the outside, so I'll start grade over on this side and then measure it everywhere else and see how much I need to cut off. And of course I'll talk to the concrete folks and see what they recommend. And yeah, we'll start getting this pad squared away so we can start working on forms and everything for the slab. We got a lot of work. We're gonna have to dig piers, dig footers. We'll put a moisture barrier, rebar, plumbing. We got a lot to do. So this ain't gonna be no weekend project. It's gonna take me some time even to do that. So I like to find me a contractor that can mentor me along the way and get me started on all that. And then once we're checked off and it's all good to go, then we'll work on setting a date to pour and get that slab in. So that's the huge project that we got coming up here. Everything else is just stuff we got to do. Okay, so we got the radius arm bushing replaced. Wasn't too difficult to do. This bracket right here comes off, so we had to remove these 3 bolts up here. This shield, of course, is held on by those. That freed up this bracket. Then we remove the bolt right there, and we're able to remove all the bushings. To get it back on, we just put the bushings back on, put the bracket on, tighten the nut, and then the challenge was getting these 3 bolts back in. So what we did, we took a ratchet strap, put it around the I-beam, hooked it to the front of the frame as far forward as we could get it, and then started ratcheting to pull that I-beam forward. That, of course, then pulled this bracket forward. We were able to push it up and get a spud. So basically a pointed tip bar. Put that into one of the holes. Use that as kind of an alignment tool. And then we started with this bolt up here because it's not one of the bolts on the shield, the heat shield for the exhaust. So we put that bolt in first, and then next we put this bolt in, and we just had to maneuver to align it right, push it around a little bit, hit it a little bit with the hammer just to knock it into position. Got that nut in, and then did the same with the last one. Got them lined up and back in, tightened them all down, new bushings on, so we're good. The one thing we did notice in this whole process is you cannot replace these or get these in and out without the exhaust off. So we had to pull the exhaust off again to get to all that. So it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing, but we got that done. It really wasn't too bad. So next step will be to get the exhaust back on again, put it all back together, and we should be good to go. Before we could get out of the city, we had to get the RV put back together. And as a reward, Lorena fixed us a great meal of Mexican rice, tamales, and salsa verde shrimp enchiladas. Yum. Then, of course, we had to fight the traffic to get out of the city. But we made it, and we're back to country. All right, well, it's kind of a cool day. I think the high today is only going to be about 56 degrees. Got down into the low 40s overnight, so my diesels are kind of cold today. Trying to get the telehandler started and just kind of go through it and then move it. Unfortunately, it won't start. So I ran the battery down trying to crank it over. Now I'm charging the battery. It says we're at 63% now. Oh, that's cool how it flickers in the camera. You don't see that when you're looking at it normal. But anyway, 63%, we're charging. Hopefully we get this thing started. All right, we got it started. Funny, it cranked right over this time. Guess the battery was just a little low. Let's see if we can run it through the numbers. Okay, so been messing with the telehandler, and you know, most things work, but unfortunately something's happened with the brakes, and the brake controller's not releasing, so it won't move. So we got to see if we can get that thing to break free and hopefully get it to move. All right, so here's what's going on. So the brakes were stuck in the lock position under the pedal. You got this little piston right here, and that was stuck in the down position. It does have a little lip on the top, so I was able to just put a screwdriver on there and pop it loose. No problem, it popped right up. And then I just squirted it with some WD-40, and well, it's too hard to push by hand, but bottom line is it works now, no problem. So once we got the brake to release and got all that going, we were able to move the telehandler. It has a 3-speed transmission on it. We ran it through all the different gears. Everything runs and works great. It drove without any problem. The brakes work. Parking brake even worked. They said it didn't work before, but it seemed to stop it. So could work better, but it worked. And yeah, I didn't find anything that doesn't work. Now what I was able to determine, that outrigger over on the far side, it does want to keep falling. And what I figured out, so these valves over here, they control the outriggers. So that's pull it towards you to lift it, push it away to drop it, and in the center should be like a neutral position. So this one seems to click back to neutral pretty easy. This one sticks, and when it's in the neutral position, it kind of leaks a little, and the outrigger wants to fall. So the problem is that valve, so I can probably pull that off and rebuild it, and we'll be good there. And if I'm going to do one, I'll probably do them both. This is the tilt of the unit. It seems to work good. It's got a pull up release lever to go one way or the other, and then it locks in the center, and it does pop back to center every time. So that one's good. The other ones probably need to be rebuilt. We'll do that, no problem. So overall, Real pleased with the telehandler. Everything seems to work good. It was smoking a bit, but what was smoking was just grease and oil from when the mechanics worked on it. It was over here on the exhaust pipe, and so the exhaust pipe here you know, had oil and grease, and you can see the engine. I don't know if you can see the reflection in the camera, but there is oil on the outside of the engine, and that's all just from when they worked on it. So I can already see some of that burn off, and of course it burned off the exhaust pipe. But other than that, everything seems to be working good. I did not notice any leaks at all. When it was parked, I didn't notice anywhere that it had leaked. So everything seems to work like it's supposed to. Obviously found out that if you extend that boom all the way out, even when it's in the down position, it will get top heavy and lift up your rear end. Who knew? Better to discover that stuff with no load than when you put a load on it. So, you know, never drove one of these before other than the one we used to unload our truck for our metal building. But we're going to use this thing a lot when we go to build the building, so definitely need to know how to use it and make sure we're proficient at it. This needs to be adjusted. That bar should come out the side and put a pin in it to lock it. There's a big washer and a lock on the other side. So we'll figure that out, see if we can come up with something big enough to put on there, and then throw a bolt in it so that it stays in position. Of course, you tilt the whole thing forward, and then you can slide these forks to make them wider. So that's a good feature. We used it on the last one. We'll use it on this one as well. The only thing I wish the forks were a little longer. Those seem a little short. I don't know, guess they're about 4 feet. But I'd like a set of long forks, so if I ever come across a set, I'll probably pick them up. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So happy with that purchase. Works good. What needs work on, we can fix ourselves. So that's always a plus. Hey folks, you know, sometimes I just need to rant a little bit. So now I'm fixing a rant. If you don't want to hear my rant, fast forward. Here we go. So you ever notice that sometimes you got something that works perfectly well and then the government gets involved? Well, here's an example of government involvement. How many of you have ever used these worthless fuel spouts? They think they've created some kind of safety device by putting this little latch thing in or whatever. No, it ain't safe. It's a mess, and it's worthless, and it's junk. So when government gets involved, somebody ends up making a whole lot of money, and the consumer always ends up getting the short end of the stick. And this is a prime example. They put this crap in all these gas cans, so then the consumer has to go out and spend more money to buy these to return the gas can to how it was originally built so that it actually works. Because that junk doesn't work. Never has. Complete junk. These work. They're flexible, they bend, fuel actually flows through them, and if you're using it correctly, no, you don't spill any. This, it spills. Why? Because you have to try to hold up 5 gallons of fuel and then click this little lever here so that it pops up and will let any fuel out. It's supposed to be non-spill, but when you balance a 5-gallon can on this little spout, the spout bends, pops out, and fuel leaks out. It's junk. Whoever created it obviously doesn't use fuel cans. The government, no matter what they touch, they screw up. So you want them in your health care, you want them on your farm, You want them, I don't know, in everything, which for some reason people nowadays seem to think they want the government wiping their butt for them. I don't know. I don't want the government in anything. I spent my life in government. I know how screwed up they are. And this is a prime example. This is not the kind of health care you want. Thanks for listening. Rant over. Okay, here's what happens when you throw a old bee frame with a little bit of honey on it outside during the dearth. The bees found it and they are robbing it out. No problem. Getting that all good and cleaned up. Good for them. The main thing was shooting the grade on this pad, so I got out the laser level and I started giving this pad the once over, and what I basically discovered is that we're low on that far end, a little bit high on that outside, and of course we're higher over here. So tomorrow I'll start working on this pad, and what I'll do is I'll bring the dozer down. We're high in through here as well, so I'll probably move the dump truck, start pushing that dirt out over this way, pushing that dirt that way, and basically working on getting this pad level. And as I do it, I'll push the excess dirt down to that end to build that up just a little bit, and we'll try to get this thing pretty darn level, or at least best we can do. Now remember, I'm not a dozer operator. I just kind of get on and go, but to be honest, that side over there is only about 2 inches high, and I did every bit of this just basically by how it looked to me and filling it as I went. So I would say, for not having any experience and just doing this, 2 inches is pretty darn good. I guess I'll be proud of that. By the time we get it done, we're going to get it closer than that, though. I'm going to try to get it within, let's say, a ½ inch. If we can get it ½ inch or less all the way, I'll be darn happy. And then we'll figure out what we got to dig out to thicken up some of the concrete area. Of course, we'll have to dig footers and stuff like that. But did talk to the concrete guy today, and unfortunately he's tied up on a job, so he's going to call me back on Friday and either try to get over here Friday or next weekend. So gives me the rest of this week, a couple more days anyway, to get this pad leveled out the way I want it, and then we'll start working on some other projects and just kind of see how it goes. As always, folks, appreciate you joining us on this journey. Hope that you'll stick around to see what happened next. Till then, God bless. We'll see you on the next one.